Chapter 11. The Public Holiday. The next day was a public holiday to honor the new governor of Boston. It was also the day when the minister would give his final sermon. Hester and little Pearl came into the marketplace, which was crowded with artisans, sailors, and visitors to Boston. Hester's dark dress made her look almost invisible. Her face was cold and quiet, and looked like a mask. But inside, her heart was as wild and bright as the dress Pearl wore. Pearl moved like an agitated little spirit who could not remain in one place. Sometimes she shouted in a wild, strange language that no one but her understood. "What's happening, Mother?" she cried. "Why have all the people left their work today? Is the whole world on holiday? Look, there's the blacksmith," she cried, pointing her finger at a man. "He's washed his dirty face and put on his Sunday clothes. And there's Mr. Brackett, the old jailer, smiling at me. Why's he doing that, Mother?" "He remembers you from when you were a little baby, and I stood on the scaffold in the marketplace," answered Hester. "Why has everyone come to the marketplace today?" repeated Pearl. "It's a public holiday, Pearl," Hester explained. "Soon the new governor and other important people will come here, and there will be music and entertainment." "Will the minister also come?" asked Pearl. "Will he kiss me the way he did in the forest?" "Yes, he'll be here, Pearl," answered her mother, nodding her head. "But he won't speak to us today, and you mustn't speak to him." "I don't understand anything," said the child, as if she was speaking to herself. "In the forest, he kissed us and held our hands, but he pretends he doesn't know us on this sunny day among all these people, and you never explain why he always has his hand over his heart." "You can't understand these things, Pearl," answered her mother. "You're still a little girl." There were many rough-looking sailors among the crowds in the marketplace. Their faces had burnt in the sun, and all of them had long beards. The sailors followed their own rules and could do many things that the ordinary people couldn't. They smoked tobacco and drank wine under the noses of the jailers and ministers, and nobody punished them. Roger Chillingworth was deep in conversation with the captain of the ship. When he went on his way, Hester approached the captain. It was a good time to speak to him because music was playing loudly, and there was no danger that anyone would hear their conversation. "Is everything arranged for our voyage to Bristol?" she asked. "My daughter has never left Boston before. She's very excited." "Yes, everything is arranged, Mistress Prynne," the captain replied. "But now it seems I must ask my men to make one more room on the ship ready. At least, nobody will die of fever on this voyage, now that we've got a doctor traveling with us," he added, laughing. "What do you mean?" cried Hester, surprised. "Have you got another passenger?" "Didn't you know?" answered the captain. "Dr. Chillingworth will be traveling with you. He told me he's a close friend of the gentleman you spoke to me about." "They know each other very well indeed," replied Hester, trying to stay calm. "They've lived in the same house for a long time." "So you'll have a fine voyage together, then," laughed the captain. There was nothing more to say. At that moment, Hester saw Roger Chillingworth at the other end of the marketplace. He smiled at her, a smile which seemed to have a secret, terrifying meaning in it. They would never escape from the devil. Before Hester could respond, she heard the sound of military music approaching along the street, and saw Reverend Dimmesdale enter the marketplace. He was on his way to the church to give his sermon. Hester observed him, and suddenly felt very sad. Hester thought about their meeting in the forest, and how they had sat hand in hand amongst the leaves and sunshine. She had felt as though she really knew him then. Who was this man, this troubled minister, that she saw now? She hardly recognized him. Pearl seemed to read her mother's thoughts. "Mother," she asked, "was that the same man who kissed me by the stream? He looks different." "Shh, little Pearl," whispered her mother. "We mustn't talk in the marketplace about what happened in the forest." "I wasn't even sure that it was him. He looked so strange," continued the child. "If I had been sure, I would have run to him and asked him to kiss me now in front of all these people. What would he say, Mother?" "He would say, Pearl," answered Hester, "that this is no time to kiss. We don't kiss people in the marketplace." Just then, strange Mistress Hibbins came through the crowd and went directly to Hester. "Now, would you believe it?" she whispered to her. "People think that the minister is like a holy saint on earth. Who would believe he sat holding hands in the forest with you? Tell me, Hester, is it the same man?" "I don't know what you're talking about," answered Hester coldly. The strange woman shook her finger at Hester. "I go to the forest many times, and I know who else has been there," she said. "I always knew it was you, Hester Prynne, because I could see your scarlet letter. The whole world could see it. It glows like a flame in the dark. At least you wear it openly. But Reverend Dimmesdale," she said, lowering her voice again, "what is he trying to hide? Why is his hand always over his heart?" "Yes, I want to know that too," cried little Pearl impatiently. Don't worry about it, darling," said Mistress Hibbins, laughing as she walked away. "They say you belong to the Prince of Darkness, Pearl. Will you ride with me one night to see him? Then we can ask the minister why he keeps his hand over his heart." "Hester Prynne, what's he trying to hide?" Still laughing, the old woman walked away. Hester shuddered as she watched her go. Suddenly the sound of the church organ was heard from the church, and Reverend Dimmesdale began his sermon in a powerful, passionate voice. In the marketplace, Hester could not hear his words, but she caught the sound of pain in his voice. It was the sound of a heart overflowing with sorrow, a heart which wanted God's forgiveness. All this time, Hester stood like a statue near the scaffold. She was as still as death, and felt as though she couldn't move. There were many people in the marketplace, people who did not live in Boston. They had all heard the story of the woman with the scarlet letter, and wanted to see with their own eyes the woman who wore it. Now they stood around Hester, pointing to the letter glowing on her chest and whispering to one another. Hester felt as though the letter was burning into her soul. While Hester stood in the middle of this curious circle, the minister looked down from his pulpit through the open door to the marketplace. Here he stood, the devout minister in the church, and there was the woman with her scarlet letter being ridiculed in the marketplace. Could anyone guess that the same mark of shame burnt on both of them?